See, I actually think these are both very important topics, and I also think they're intrinsically linked to the point where I think it makes sense for them to both be in the same month. I'll try to make sense here.
Right, so yes, a lot of men have more than their fair share of struggles with mental health issues, and a lot of them do try to open up about it, but they're promptly made fun of it and like called weak for it. And the way they're called weak is often by being called gay. And in that case, men who are gay learn to consider themselves less than, end up pushing it down. They get more depressed as a result of it. And the guys that aren't end up learning that it is a bad thing to be gay, and they start like picking on people who are, and then they start finding traits that aren't actually like they don't actually mean someone's gay, but they start considering those traits gay, and whenever they see them in another guy, they'll get all like pissy at him about it. So it just doesn't end up assisting anyone. One thing I'll also point out is that often when someone brings up Men's Mental Health Month, they only end up doing it whenever Pride Month is mentioned in an attempt to like shut it down or something. And doing that is bad. But if you mention men's mental health on its own, like if you mention that on its own, you should make a standalone post about Men's Mental Health Month because it is also a very important topic. And I feel like one of the reasons why Pride Month overshadows it so much is because companies smatter their logos and products with rainbows and stuff, and you see all these like flags and stuff. It's just very colorful, right? So it's easier to draw attention to. Meanwhile, with men's mental health, one of their main issues with it is that they put active effort into hiding it because they don't want it drawn attention to, because we've been taught to believe it's something to be ashamed of, when really all that's doing is causing people to get more and more depressed. So to shorten it down, a TLDR, I guess, check in on your brothers. You got like male friends and stuff. Check in, see how they're doing, and don't be ashamed to reach out, and don't like belittle people either, because men's mental health really is very important.
It's also something that seems very easy for a lot of more grifty types to exploit. They'll end up saying they're an advocate for men's mental health, and they'll give you this tough guy narrative that basically teaches you to be a bank robber, and you'll end up pushing any sad emotions down, any emotions other than anger. And a guy who would otherwise, maybe he'd cry, he'd end up like punching a hole in a wall instead because he's been taught to be ashamed of being sad. That's the kind of stuff like we got to be drawing more attention to that, and like letting men know that it's okay to actually feel your emotions. You don't got to like pretend to be more badass than you actually are. So I don't agree that they can't be in the same month, but I do think it's important.